Hey, it's finally quiet in here. Hey, listen,
Where's the footage you shot of the Dogs of Pavlov on tour? Cleveland, Minneapolis, St. Louis, Chicago. Or was it Minneapolis first, Chicago last? Who cares?
I'm sure their manager cares, assuming they don't have unlimited time and money.
Well, they don't have any of either. That's why I thought it would be nice if we can cut a little promo for them. That's it?
Yes, but
Of the tour?
Mm-hmm. But they made some changes for the channel.
Math songs. Worse. What's worse than songs about math?
Their name.
You changed their name?
I named them after a math problem.
You didn't.
I did. Oh, it's perfect. Listen, they're on tour during their spring break, right? So they only have 1 week to complete the tour. Obviously, they want to spend as little time as possible traveling and as much time as possible rehearsing and performing.
And sleeping.
Right. So their situation fits right into what's called the traveling salesman problem. It's great. I even added narration.
Chicago. Be back in a week.
At first glance, planning the shortest possible route for a 4-city tour doesn't seem so difficult. Just add up the mileage for every possible trip. The most efficient one is the one with the shortest total length. Since the band is starting in Chicago, they've got 3 choices of where to go first. If they pick Minneapolis, they only have 2 choices for the next stop, Cleveland or St. Louis. No matter which they choose, the next stop will have to be the other, and the trip will end with a return to Chicago. Now, hop back to the first place they made a choice. If the band picks St. Louis instead, we could work out the same kind of diagram. And of course, the same applies if they go to Cleveland first. Well, that seems to be all the possible trips, 6 of them. But compare the first one and the last one, and you'll see that the cities are in the same order, just reversed. What seem to be 6 different trips are really only 3 distinct ones. This one is clearly the shortest.
You go straight up to about that far, and you take a left in.
I don't understand the map, Rob. I mean...
But what if the band is an overnight success, and their next tour involves 25 cities?
Hey, it's here.
All right,
let's go.
let's go.
Rock and roll, guys.
There's an easy method that will always tell us how many possible trips there are.
Hey, we really have no idea where we're going. Maybe you
All
can
right,
find a way.
give it a go. No problem. All right.
If n is the total number of cities, then the number of choices for the first stop is n minus 1. The number of choices for the second stop is n minus 2, and so on, down to 1. To find the number of different routes, we multiply out and divide by 2, since half of the trips are counted twice.
Drive on, driver.
The formula tells us how many trips there are. Actually laying out every possible tour and adding up the mileages is a procedure mathematicians call an algorithm. But this algorithm is not what you'd call airtight. With a 25-city tour, it could take a computer 10 billion years to list all the possible tours. So we're back to where we started. Only this time, we'll use a different strategy. We'll keep moving on to the closest possible city, also called the nearest neighbor. Starting at Chicago, the closest possible choice is St. Louis, only 300 miles away. From there, the closest place is Cleveland. Now, from Cleveland, the closest place is Chicago, but remember that our goal is the shortest trip that visits each city just once. So from Cleveland, we're forced to make this relatively long link to Minneapolis and then back to Chicago. But the trip we planned with the nearest neighbor method is not the shortest possible one. So we have a trade-off. The algorithm generates a solution quickly, but this solution isn't the best one we could have found. Let's see what happens if we arrange all the distances from the smallest to the largest. You can think of this as a greedy method, where we put in the cheapest elements and try to minimize the cost of the tour. But guess what? Yet again, the route we've traced is not the most efficient overall tour. In fact, the very original one we constructed turns out to be the optimal tour for this particular collection of cities. Evidently, we're in a bit of a rut. We've got plenty of algorithms, but either they're too hard to compute or they don't yield the optimal answers. And That's why the traveling salesman problem has mathematicians so intrigued. No one has been able to find a solution that's computationally efficient and gives the optimal answer. In fact, most mathematicians now believe there isn't such an algorithm. So what do? We settle for methods that are computationally efficient and reasonably close to optimal.
Hey there, Chicago. Did you miss us?
Yeah? Yeah, nice tour. Minneapolis? Yeah, I've been there once. But listen, guys, about that name. Okay, mathoids. Amazing things, telephones. Have you ever wondered how your long-distance calling really works?